Okay, today we're going to talk about something different. We're going to talk about purchasing a new bike, and more important, if you're a new rider. And lugging that bike in. In other words, pulling the guts out of it. So if you're a new rider and you don't know what that means, it means like this. Say for example, you go back to your primary school days and you're at school. And you've had trouble with this big bully type boy or something like that. And he comes up to you and grabs you by the jumper. You try to get away. And you're trying to get traction. And your jumper's being stretched. But you can't get away from him and he's got you. Well, I'd class that as lugging. And you were caught, so you were virtually in the wrong gear and couldn't escape. In other words, you had no torque. The next time, you're a bit wiser, and you know what's going on, and you see him coming. And when he catches up with you this time, you end up slipping your jumper. You're in the lower gear and you get away from him. You might have slipped your jumper, but you're away. In other words, you've gained traction and you were right away from him in that respect. So you've escaped. This is more like so on a motorcycle too. If you're going along on your bike and you're in 4th or 5th gear, let's wait a sec, this is a bad intersection. Okay. Okay, so if you're going along on the motorbike and you're in the wrong gear and you try to accelerate either out of trouble or anything like that, doesn't matter how far you twist that throttle, nothing will happen. You've got to be in the right gear or on a more powerful bike which will get you out of that trouble. But on an Enfield with 27 horsepower, it's not going to happen. So you've got to be down in the lower gears. Now by chance if you've got a new bike, you don't want to be out there driving around in 4th or 5th gear pulling the guts out of your bike, because not only do you pull the guts out of the motor, you pull it out of the drivetrain. Example, the gearbox, the clutch, all the way at the back, and it's virtually like you're trying to just ruin a good bike. So this is something for you to think about. When you buy a Classic 500, naturally, they have no rev counter. You've probably been watching my video now, and you'll notice that I have got a tachometer on this or something like that. Now, if you're a new rider, the sweet spot for these when you're running these new Enfields in is 3,000 revs, roughly, in the lower gears. 3,000. So that's where you're not going to do any damage to the motor, and the motor likes it. So that's the area you've got to sit for, around that 3 grand. It's no use being in top gear at around about 1,500, 2,000 revs, because that is not good for your motor. So keep that in mind. So if you look at it at a 3,000, it's very hard to guess. So the idea is either, for example, the best idea would be to go to eBay and look for these simple small engine tachometers you can buy, just like I'll show you shortly when I get off this bike. And they're very cheap purchase. They'll range from say $12 to $30 each, and they're not a really hard fix. They'll fit to the bike, I mean. And they'll save you a lot of thinking about what you're going to do or something like that as far as gear changes. And the best thing about these tachos, after you run the bike in, there's really no need to keep it there after that, because by that time you'll have a very good idea of what's the sweet spot on your bike. I mean, now I think I'm pushing just close 28, 3000 revs. The bike's running along nicely at 80 kilometres an hour. No drama. So you can see even in top gear, gear 5, the bike's running along nice and smooth. So I would think for any new rider who would like to get into a Royal Enfield, like I said, you've got no idea of what revs you're going to be travelling at or something like that. This is a really good idea for, you know, $12 to $30, and it'll get you out a lot of trouble, and you won't have anyone yelling out, "Yeah, geez, mate, you're pulling the guts out of that bike," or you're belting shit out of it for no reason at all. Your bike's going to last a lot longer, and you'll be a lot happier camper. So I'm just about ready to come out to the 100 kilometre zone up here, so I'll put the bike on 100 k's, and you'll see the revs increase, and the bike will be running a lot more sweeter. This bike's got about pushing close on 1900 kilometres on it now, so it's running fairly sweet, but you know, that's about it for the moment for this bike. It's not a top speed bike yet, so we'll run her up to 100 k's just gently. I'm not here to flatten it or, you know, pull the guts out of it. So there it is now, running on its 100, doing about 3,500 revs or a bit over. All good. I've got about half a kilometre up here on the left hand side. I'll pull down the dirt road up here, and we'll have a quick look at the fixing procedure of this tacho, and I'll just show you how simple it is to do an install, and I'm sure you'll be fairly well interested in that side of it. So it's a fairly simple thing. Just on the main area here, I just used double-sided tape to install it in the section of the handlebars. It only consists of one wire, which I ran straight down the side of the frame, back in under here. It just goes over to the spark plug, and you wrap it half a dozen times around the spark plug, the lead up in under there, and that's about it. As soon as you do that, the install's complete. So there it is. It's a very simple way to get a tacho for, you know, $12 to $30. Helps with your running. Then after that you can decide whether you want to keep it or not, or throw it away, or put it away for the next bike, or whatever way you would like to go. It'll help you with the revs when you're running in the new bike and stuff like that. And it's a good, cheap safety alternative.